Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Hamas has released the remaining 20 living Israeli hostages who've been held in Gaza for the past 2 years. Red Cross vehicles carried the captives from Gaza to Israel. Hamas is also in the process of handing over the bodies of 28 Israeli captives who've been confirmed dead. In exchange, Israel is releasing nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, many of whom had been held without charge. This all comes as part of the first phase of a U.S.-backed 20-point plan. Earlier today, President Trump addressed the Israeli Knesset.
Like the USA right now, it will be the golden age of Israel and the golden age of the Middle East.
A group of leftist Israeli lawmakers briefly interrupted Trump's address by waving a sign calling him to recognize Palestine. Trump heads next to Sharm el-Sheikh, where he and the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi will co-host what's being described as a peace summit. Leaders and officials from 27 countries are scheduled to attend. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was invited. First, it was believed he was going, but now it's believed he will not be attending. Celebrations have been held across Israel today as hostages held in Gaza reunite with their families.
I waited for this day so much. 2 years we've been waiting for the hostages to come back home, for the war to stop, for the soldiers to come back home. This is a historic day. This is a happy day. They're coming home.
Meanwhile, Israeli officials have threatened to arrest Palestinians in the occupied West Bank if they celebrate the release of Palestinian prisoners held in Israel. Since the ceasefire began on Friday, tens of thousands of Palestinians have streamed back into northern Gaza to find their old neighborhoods reduced to ruin. New drone footage shows vast areas of northern Gaza where every structure has been destroyed or heavily damaged. In recent days, Palestinians have retrieved more than 295 bodies that have been trapped under the rubble from Israeli attacks. Mahmoud Abu Amira is a Gaza City resident who returned to find his home destroyed.
This
was the most beautiful place, this camp. But now you can see it's rubble, destruction. Life isn't life anymore. We can't find water. We can't find food. We can't find anything to drink. It's like we've gone back to disaster. It's like a nightmare, something you would have never imagined seeing. Tell me, could you ever have imagined this happening to you? I ask myself, no, we never imagined something like this could happen to us. A machine of destruction, a machine of war.
In other news from Gaza, the prominent Palestinian journalist Salah al-Jafarawi was shot dead Sunday by an Israeli-backed Palestinian militia in Gaza City. In other news from Gaza, drop site news reports Israeli forces in recent days set fire to civilian infrastructure, including the destruction of an essential sanitation plant in Gaza City. Israel's released the remaining international flotilla passengers who were abducted last week on the high seas while attempting to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza. In total, Israel had detained 145 people aboard the Freedom Flotilla Coalition vessel, the Conscience, and a group of sailboats organized by the Thousand Madeleines to Gaza campaign. Major protests in solidarity with Palestine were held over the weekend in many cities, including Sydney, Australia, Oslo, Norway, and in London, where attendees included former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn.
Many question marks over the 20 points that Donald Trump and others have put forward, many of which are very disturbing. But if there's no bombs falling and nobody being killed, then that is, of course, a step forward. But the long-term peace requires the Palestinian people to be involved in deciding their future, not just the USA and Israel.
The federal government shutdown has entered its 13th day, leaving hundreds of thousands of government workers furloughed or working without pay. Late on Friday, the Trump administration sent layoff notices to more than 1,000 workers at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, though a federal official later told the Washington Post some notices have been sent in error and would be reversed. Among those losing their jobs are scientists working on infectious disease outbreaks, injury prevention, and global health. Separately, the Education Department fired nearly everyone in the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services and in the federal TRIO programs, which help students from disadvantaged backgrounds access higher education. On Friday, President Trump said there will be even more cuts to the federal workforce in coming days.
How many layoffs have you authorized for this first round, and from which agencies?
And it will be Democrat-oriented, because we figure, they started this thing, so they should be Democrat-oriented. It'll be a lot, and we'll announce the numbers over the next couple of days, but it'll be a lot of people, all because of the Democrats.
Meanwhile, President Trump's directed the Pentagon to issue salaries to military service members. They were due to miss paychecks Wednesday. Most other government workers are not being paid during the shutdown. A federal appeals court has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from deploying National Guard soldiers in Illinois. However, Saturday's ruling by the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals allows the Trump administration to continue to federalize the National Guard while the court considers a formal decision. For now, some 500 National Guard soldiers from Illinois and Texas remain stationed at a base about an hour outside Chicago. The Trump administration says it's planning an appeal. On Sunday, Vice President J.D. Vance told Meet the Press, Kirsten Welker, that Trump has not ruled out invoking the Insurrection Act.
Are you seriously considering invoking the Insurrection Act?
Well, the president's looking at all of his options. Right now, he hasn't felt he needed to, but we have to remember, why are we talking about this, Kristen? Because crime has gotten out of control in our cities.
In response, Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker said President Trump cannot invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy the National Guard to Chicago unless there's an active rebellion underway.
The Insurrection Act is called the Insurrection Act for a reason. There has to be a rebellion. There has to be an insurrection in order for him to be allowed to invoke it. Again, he can say anything he wants, but if the Constitution means anything, and I guess we all are questioning that right now, but the courts will make the determination. If the Constitution means anything, the Insurrection Act cannot be invoked to send them in because they want to fight crime.
Federal authorities have released a TV news producer without charge following her arrest by federal agents in Chicago's Lincoln Square neighborhood Friday. Video shows masked federal agents pinning WGN TV producer Debbie Brockman to the ground, binding her hands behind her back and forcing her into an unmarked vehicle, then sideswiping a nearby car as they sped away. ICE later accused Brockman of throwing objects at a Border Patrol car, but provided no evidence. The arrest appears to directly violate a federal judge's order one day earlier banning federal agents from using riot control weapons and other force against protesters and journalists who are not posing a threat. On Saturday, the Chicago Teachers Union organized a protest dubbed Funds Not Feds outside the Chicago headquarters of Google. They're demanding an end to ICE raids and calling for federal funds to be redirected to schools, health care, food assistance, and violence prevention. This is Chicago alderperson Anthony Joel Quezada.
We're also here because we know what we're up against. Donald Trump and his fascist authoritarian administration are advancing an agenda built on fear and division. They are stripping away health care, food access, and housing from those who already struggle the most, like our elders and our working families. They are terrorizing our communities and kidnapping our neighbors. And while they take from the many, they reward the few.
In Oregon, dozens of protesters Saturday rallied outside a federal immigration facility in Portland, demanding an end to Trump's mass deportations and his plans to deploy the National Guard to the city. Many of the protesters wore inflatable costumes, mocking Trump's description of Portland as a full-blown war zone.
Yes, we're in costumes to show just how ridiculous that is. It's not a war zone. The only time it's a war zone is when they come down and abuse us protesters out here fighting for our community. As you just witnessed, they come down, they shoot pepper balls, they grab people.
I'm here tonight because this is literally actually bananas. Like, that we have these guys in full military uniforms, costumes basically, coming out because the President of the United States, the highest office that we used to all have respect for, is saying that this is a war-torn, blown-out buildings.
In news from Sudan, at least 60 people were killed Saturday when drone and artillery strikes by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces hit a camp for displaced people in the besieged city of El Fasher in North Darfur. The dead included at least 17 children, including a 7-day-old infant. Last week, the RSF shelled a maternity ward of one of the last remaining hospitals in El Fasher, killing 13 people. More than 12 million people have been displaced by Sudan's civil war, which has triggered widespread famine, making it one of the worst humanitarian crises of the 21st century. President Trump is threatening to send long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine if Russian President Vladimir Putin doesn't agree to a settlement to end the war. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov responded to Trump's threat by expressing extreme concern. He said, quote, "Now is really a very dramatic moment in terms of the fact that tensions are escalating from all sides," unquote. This comes as the Financial Times has revealed the U.S. has been secretly sharing intelligence to help Ukraine target Russian energy facilities far beyond the front lines. Meanwhile, Russia continues to target Ukraine's energy grid as winter approaches. According to Ukrainian officials, Russia launched more than 3,100 drones, 92 missiles, and around 1,360 glide bombs over the past week. Madagascar's president says he's resisting an attempt by the army to seize power by force. On Sunday, a renegade army unit said it had taken command of all branches of the military, while an increasing number of soldiers are joining youth-led anti-government protests demanding the ouster of President Andry Rajoelina, who came to power in a 2009 coup that toppled Madagascar's previous president. Trade tensions are escalating again between the United States and China. On Friday, President Trump threatened to impose a 100% tariff on Chinese products starting November 1st and new export limits on, quote, any and all critical software. A day earlier, China had announced a plan to restrict access to rare earth minerals. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting Friday at the request of Venezuela to discuss escalating U.S. military activity in the Caribbean. In recent weeks, the U.S. blew up 4 boats claiming they were carrying drugs. Venezuela's UN ambassador, Samuel Moncada, warned the U.S. may be preparing to invade Venezuela.
Las acciones y la retórica guerreristas.
The belligerent action and rhetoric of the U.S. government objectively point to the fact that we are facing a situation in which it is rational to anticipate that in very short term, an armed attack is to be perpetrated against Venezuela.
In other news on Venezuela, this year's Nobel Peace Prize winner, announced Friday, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, has dedicated her prize to President Donald Trump for, quote, his decisive support of our cause, unquote. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has brought felony charges against 8 people linked to a midwife accused of performing abortions in violation of Texas state law. In a statement, Paxton called the 8 a, quote, cabal of abortion-loving radicals and fake doctors, unquote. This comes after Houston midwife Maria Rojas became the first person criminally charged under Texas's new laws outlawing virtually all abortions. In response, Rojas's lawyer told CNN, quote, Paxton heartlessly shut down several clinics that provided lawful, affordable services to families around Houston, most of whom were low-income, uninsured immigrants with few options for health care, unquote. And in Tennessee, investigators say 16 people are confirmed dead following a massive explosion at a munitions plant Friday. The blast left the rural factory in ruins and rattled homes more than 15 miles away. The cause of the disaster is under investigation. The Accurate Energetic Systems plant was under federal contract to produce bulk explosives and landmines for the U.S. Army and Navy. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.